There is no other sovereign authority in Jamaica other than the government of Jamaica.
Welcome back to my channel, viewers and subscribers. Hope everybody is doing wonderful this Sunday. If it's your first time here, I would love if you give this video a like, click the subscribe button and that bell just so you don't miss any notifications whenever I upload a new video. So people, today the Prime Minister of Jamaica, Andrew Holness, held a press conference where he was addressing some issues that we're experiencing in the country. It's geared particularly towards the crime and violence in the country, and he did touch on COVID and some other topics. Now, he touched on something that I really wanted him to touch on for a long time now. I wanted the government to address this a long time now, and finally he spoke about it. Now, he mentioned a specific term called sovereignty or sovereign throughout the press conference, and at first I wasn't sure if it was geared towards the Maroon, but after somebody asked him a question about the sovereignty of Maroons, he did confirm to me that he was probably mentioning the Maroon. So the question that was asked is basically this. Here's the video.
Pleasant good morning, Mr. Holness. Did the government seek legal advice on its decision to disengage with so-called sovereign Maroons? And would the government not be derelict in refusing to finance projects in any such territories? And a companion question is whether the government finds it embarrassing that it seems that different arms of the state, that's the police and ODPEM, as we found out, gave approval to the hosting of the Maroon celebrations.
Your question is based on a very dangerous premise. And I said earlier that there are some threats that the average citizen is looking on.
Now, the Prime Minister's response to this question, which I will let you guys see his response soon, his response was very direct, very precise, and something I wanted to hear for a very long time, because we need a transparency. We need to know if Jamaica is just one sovereign nation or if there's a sovereign nation within the sovereign state of Jamaica. I've always wanted that response from the government, and Andrew Holness replied was that Jamaica is the only sovereign nation within Jamaica land we love. He said very clear that the Maroon lands, which include a compound town and other Maroon land in Jamaica, there is no other sovereign state in Jamaica. Jamaica is the only sovereign state within Jamaica land we love. So that would have distinguished certain things that we've thought in the past, saying that there's no laws in Maroon town and there's no form of tax paying or anything in certain Maroon lands. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you guys about the Prime Minister's response. Now, the Prime Minister does have a very valid point saying that Jamaica is a sovereign state, because once we've gained independence, of course, Jamaica is a sovereign state because we can now act independently without having to rely deeply on the British for certain things again. However, as it relates to the Maroons being a sovereign state, it's a very tricky situation, to be honest, because the fact that a treaty was signed, a treaty isn't something that we can simply just forget and say, oh, let's push the treaty aside. There's no treaty. A treaty is a signed legal document, and the Maroon does arguably have a case when it comes on to sovereignty, based on my honest opinion, because they did sign a treaty, honestly. Now, I do agree with the Prime Minister that Jamaica is a sovereign state, but I do think the Maroon should have some form of recognition. Even if it's not sovereignty, I believe that they should have some form of recognition, because the Maroons by rights were the people who fought for Jamaica, fought for their lands, and I do believe that even if they're not a sovereign state, I believe that they should be recognized at least as indigenous people. That's what I honestly believe. I believe that the Maroons should be respected, recognized as indigenous people, and just to give them certain benefit as a show of appreciation for the fight that was done in the past, and fighting for the lands and fighting for Jamaica overall. And that's honestly what I believe. So the Prime Minister does have a point, but of course I do support the Maroons having certain rights, and also, even if they're not sovereign, I believe that they should be recognized or respected of at least indigenous people or something. But the Prime Minister made it completely clear that Jamaica is the only sovereign nation in Jamaica, and the Maroons does not have any form of sovereignty. It's very shocking, and I know that this will raise a lot of questions on social media. People will probably be reposting the video all over the place. So here's what the Prime Minister said out of his own mouth. Here's the video.
I said earlier that there are some threats that the average citizen looking on might think it is innocuous, it is popular, and take a liking to it, because the discussions that are held in places that should know better does not highlight the threat. Jamaica is a unitary, sovereign state. There is no other sovereign authority in Jamaica other than the government of Jamaica. I want that to be absolutely clear. None. And under my leadership, not 1 inch of Jamaica will come under any other sovereign authority. What you are asking would be another for the government of Jamaica to take taxpayers' money and grant funds to fund another government. This is not a government saying they are a local government, a parish council government, which is under our constitution. Are you crazy? Really? Do you know what you're asking? This is the stuff of how guerrilla wars come and states break down. Wake up, Jamaica. Don't court foolishness and problems. Wake up. People have died as a result. And you expect me to stand here as Prime Minister and fund activities that could lead to the breakdown of our state? Never. Thank you.
So there you go, guys. You've heard it out of the Prime Minister Andrew Holness' mouth himself, that the Maroons does not have any form of sovereignty in Jamaica. Jamaica is one land and Jamaica is a sovereign nation. That's what the Prime Minister said. But I want to touch on the topic of sovereignty some more. Let's say if the Maroons were truly sovereign and they have a sovereign state within Jamaica, right? Is anything really wrong with sovereignty? Is anything wrong with it? Let's look at it. The Maroons have basically fought this battle and now is celebrating. They celebrated their what they call their Maroon Christmas on the 6th of January, right? 284 years of peace. So far, based off the reports, right? The murders or homicides recorded in Maroonland is only 3. Yes, only 3 murders in Maroonland in 284 years. So what that would say to me is that whatever the Maroons are doing, they're probably doing it pretty good. Whether it is that they're raising the community as a family, or they're teaching some form of morals, I think that they are doing pretty well in their community in terms of managing crime and violence and lowering the murder rate. Because let's say if, for example, there was a high murder rate in the Maroon lands of Jamaica, then definitely, I expect that the Prime Minister of Jamaica would definitely have to intervene and say, hey, something needs to be done about this. But the fact that there have only been 3 murders recorded, based off my knowledge and reports that were done in Maroon lands, it shows that the Maroons are truly doing something that is lowering the murder rate and protecting their community. So, sovereign again, right? The term sovereignty, there are countries right now where there's a sovereign state within a state. A perfect example would be the City of London, which is basically a state itself within the state of London. They have a different governing body, different rules and regulations and everything. But I definitely understand what Andrew Holness is saying. Jamaica is a fairly small country, which it would seem a bit weird for there to be a sovereign nation within small Jamaica itself. So I honestly believe that, the Maroons should be recognized as something separate, but not necessarily a sovereign state. Because sovereign would mean that they need to have their own rules, regulation, and everything. And that could lead to all sorts of stuff. It could lead to all sorts of, problems and everything. Luckily, the Maroons have been very good so far, which I really appreciate that about them. And the rest of Jamaica should take a note out of their book when it comes on to crime and violence and safety. The Maroons, their communities have been doing extremely well with a really low crime rate. Really well. So I do believe that they should be addressed, whether the government of Jamaica will take the chief or somebody to court and just officially address it and say, all right, you know what? It's either you're a sovereign state, or you guys are indigenous people, or you guys are just plain Jamaicans and nothing else. I think it needs to be officially addressed by law or throughout the Privy Council or something. That's what I think. But let me know what you guys think. Give me your thoughts and opinions in the comment section. Give this video a like and don't forget to click the subscribe button and that bell. And until then, walk good, stay safe, and peace out.